Lost in space and time for over 10,000 years, on a mission they were never meant to return from. They have returned from the horrible secrets of space. They are the Comic Shop.
So anyway, that's why all those kids are dead. My name is Evan Coy. Welcome back to another very special episode of the Comic Shop Does a Podcast. I'm here with
Lucas Brewer.
And we're here with a very special guest today. The specialist of guests, the longtime manager of the Comic Shop, an institution to all comic buyers in the city of Oswego, Martin Kinney. Martin Kinney.
Hello, everybody.
Thanks for being here today, Martin.
Thank you.
And again, in this very special episode of the Comic Shop, we're going to discuss a little bit of Fantastic Four. This is, I believe, Martin, your favorite superhero, favorite book, favorite title, favorite group of characters.
No, I just like to lay in bed.
You just like to lay in bed. The Fantastic Four
Yes, it is.
holds
Okay.
a special place in my heart. I think that it's kind of the blueprint for the MCU, or I guess Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
All of my influences when I was young in like the 90s would all cite the Stan and Jack FF as like the benchmark that like got them into comics. And I don't know, do you want to tell us who are the Fantastic Four?
Yes, tell us who is.
Fantastic Four are Reed Richards, who is Mr. Fantastic. He has elastic powers. He is the leader of the group. He is the smartest guy you'll ever meet. Then there is Sue Richards, who is the Invisible Woman.
The Invisible Lady.
Invisible Lady. Invisible Woman, who has the ability to make herself and others invisible. She can also project invisible force shields and things like that. Her brother is Johnny Storm. He is the Human Torch.
Not the first Human Torch.
Yeah, I was gonna
No,
say,
no, he's not
wasn't
an
there-
android. He's an actual person. But he has teamed up with Namor, too. He is the hothead of the group who also bursts into flames, can shoot fireballs, stuff like that.
How ironic.
That's amazing. It's like it was kind of plotted that way. And then there is Ben Grimm, the Thing, who is a giant rock monster guy with a heart of gold.
The loving blue-eyed Thing.
Yes, Aunt
Which
Petunia's favorite.
I would say second to Spider-Man. The Thing is probably my favorite Marvel character in the Marvel
Why is
universe.
that?
I don't know. It's a little bit different than the Hulk of man trapped in a monster's body, but it's a man trapped in a monster's body. He's kind of the not the dumb one, because he's a Air Force pilot, so he's no dummy, but next to Mr. Fantastic, I feel like everybody's kind of dumb next to Mr. Fantastic, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Yeah. But he's just kind of an everyman stuck in this big stone body, similar to like a Concrete from Paul Chadwick, but just I think there's like good human stuff you can do with him, which you can with all the Marvel characters, I guess. But
and with him specifically, it's he doesn't like what's happened to him, and he's had a lot of problems dealing with that over the years. But he also has a good everyman attitude underneath it. Where this is what I've done. I'm going to try to do my best to make it through.
Doesn't he marry a blind girl?
Kind of.
Yes.
Alicia.
I was going back. I'm like, wait, no, they didn't. Oh, yeah, they did. They just got married
Alicia
a couple
Masters.
years ago. Yep.
Oh,
Is she aware of his appearance, or?
Yes. Yes, she's
Well,
a
that's
sculptress. She's sculpted him many times.
Yes.
She is.
Wow.
let's look at some
pretty cool.
Stan and Jack FFs real quick here. What do we have here?
We got number one.
I don't think that's going to work, Lucas, but go ahead.
What?
I don't have no. Try. See if the reaction cam works. Oh, all right.
Yeah,
Here we go. So we've got a little bit
Some
of
faith.
Oh, it's upside down though. Click the other one.
No, we'll do this one.
All right.
Do you want me to make it bigger?
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Welcome to a very special episode of the Comic Shop as a podcast.
Where they make things bigger.
Where we make things bigger. FF63 here. Again, I feel like all of my influences, all the Image guys always used to cite Jack Kirby as their big artistic influence. Jack Kirby passed away in 1993 in February. He was only 76 years old. For some reason, I thought he was much older, but
Yeah, I thought so too,
only
actually.
76 years old. But I remember reading all of the eulogies for Jack in the back
in
of
the
these
books.
different Image books and going like, who I need to read more. And I think then I started to get into like the big, I guess this is before like the Essentials phone book trades, but like would search out reprints of those Jack and Stan FFs just because they were just
There's a lot of reprints of those.
yeah. And I love Kirby's art. I know that you hate, Martin, you hate Jack Kirby's art.
I hate Jack Kirby's art. I hate Jack Kirby. Anything.
It's a hot
anything.
take.
I don't even like the vacuum cleaners. It's just.
Tell us about
very
Jack
hot take.
Kirby, that he was a bit of a, we've said this before, kind of a doormat in the industry, even though he was so influential.
Yeah. It seems like throughout his career, he would draw the stuff, and he would not get involved in the business part of it so much. He would basically train his replacements. He would all of his artwork was used in early promotional materials and merchandising, and I don't think he really saw much money from that.
I don't think he saw any money.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
think
I
he
don't
got,
think he did.
even upon request, getting his original artwork back a lot of times. It was the same way with both Marvel and
Look at
DC,
that
where it's
panel.
just, that wasn't the kind of guy
Beautiful.
he was to be assertive.
Look at that big full-page splash there.
Love that.
Just the energy is so much fun. And I think that Kirby wasn't bound to any realism by any
No.
stretch. And I feel like once you start
And it
looking at
works.
perspective and anatomy, it can get very wonky, especially towards the end of his
it looks
career.
cool.
It got really strange and really distorted. But like there was just a certain energy to that like I don't think you could find in super well overly rendered drawings that maybe were tighter artistically. Again, just the energy in these books.
And
is
just like
so
the
much
book
fun.
started out with Stanley wanting to write what he wanted to write. The same, I think, went for Kirby, where it's like he wanted to draw this stuff and he was going to do whatever he wanted to. He was going to make things look fantastical.
Can you explain the Kirby Lee Marvel way almost? That like I do feel like it drifted away from Kirby or from Stan Lee very early on, where Jack Kirby would just kind of do whatever he wanted to
Yep.
do, and then Stan would have to come back and.
Yeah, this is where a lot of the controversy comes in over who created what, who gets the rights. Basically, the Marvel way is that the writer and the artist will get together and they will discuss what they want to happen in that issue. And then the artist will go off and he will fully render the book. The writer will then receive the pages and will just add the script in as he goes along based on what he's seeing. So,
Because I believe for like the coming of Galactus, wasn't it Kirby just inserted the Silver Surfer, made the Silver Surfer a much bigger character,
I believe that is the story, yeah.
and that Stan I think was going to just kind of wash over the Silver Surfer character part, but
Like just a secondary
Kirby
character,
just kept
yeah.
drawing him over and over again, so like it had to be addressed. Like I believe that's how that story goes.
Yeah, and obviously Kirby had a huge impact on how the stories did go, and especially I'm going to guess probably towards later in the run what the narrative actually was, where Stan was taking much more of a back seat.
Look at that Doomhead, like.
That's great.
And we're going to talk a little bit about this Roger Corman movie. We'll get to that.
yes.
But what could be the most realistic or most comic accurate portrayal of a Doom in any
Probably,
Marvel movie?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
for
so.
sure.
I
I didn't see the last Fantastic Four film because
Why
I'm
would
never
you?
going to watch it.
So
But
let's talk about this Roger Corman movie a
All
little bit. Martin, where did this movie come from?
it doesn't exist.
This movie technically does not exist.
No, it was never made. I don't know what movie you're talking about.
But it's out there.
Basically, someone had acquired the rights from Marvel for a Fantastic Four movie. The rights were going to be lost if they didn't start making a movie by a certain time, and they did not want to lose those rights, so they began production on this movie.
And whoever it was, this producer had the rights to this movie since like the 80s or something. It was a very long
Yeah.
period of
That's
time.
strange.
And they were just getting to the end of whatever.
Yeah,
this,
they had to have something going by December of, I think it's 1992? 92.
Yeah.
Yeah.
93.
Okay. And it kind of a weird series of events that led this movie to be made. Like the budget was trash. It just seems like everything kind of came together, not in a haphazard way, but like.
I wouldn't say haphazard. I think there was a plan, definitely. Just looking at some of the background material, basically anyone Roger Corman and below were intent on doing this movie, were enthused to do this movie, were willing to rise to the challenge of this limited budget and this short production schedule to make something good.
Roger Corman. What do we know about Roger Corman, Lucas?
Nothing.
You're a film
Gosh,
guy.
you guys are
Come
tough
on.
to work with. Roger Corman. What do we know about Roger Corman?
He was born April 5th, 1926.
Dear Wikipedia.
You're supposed to be our film guy.
He's an American film director, producer, and actor. He has been called the Pope of pop cinema and is known as
Sometimes Martin's called the Pope of Pop Cinema too, so there might be a copyright infringement. The Poop of Pop Cinema.
Okay, all right.
The Pop of Poop. The Pope of Poops.
Oh. He was also known as the trailblazer in the world of independent film. Many of Corman's films are based on works that have an already established critical reputation, such as his cycle of low-budget cult films adapted from the tales of Edgar Allan Poe. So it appears to me that he is he likes to make movies that are cheap and maybe that can get a fast return.
There was something I read that said there was no budget too low or time frame too small for him to make a movie. So
That's why. Did he do the Toxic Avengers?
No, that is Trauma. Lloyd Kaufman does Trauma, and I don't think that I think Roger Corman is a little bit more serious than a Lloyd Kaufman. Do you know Trauma stuff?
Not a lot, no.
Yeah, but Toxic Avenger. They did the Trey Parker, Matt Stone Cannibal the musical, like a few little, but more silly type thing. Like I don't think that this FF movie was meant to be silly. I think this was a very serious take.
Yeah, definitely.
That was like, hey, we've got literally $1 million budget, which was Martin. You were explaining the budget to me earlier in comparison to some of the other.
Yeah.
Well, like at the time, what was
the Batman movie, which came out 4 years earlier, had a budget of $85 million.
Jesus?
The Flash TV show on CBS that aired in 1990 had a $1.25 million budget an episode.
Which that shocks me. I feel like the Flash TV show nowadays might have a budget. Maybe not. Maybe those budgets are gone up. But like $1 million TV, $1.5 million TV budget back 30 years ago seems shocking to me.
I'm sure a lot of that went to practical effects they had to do, which were time consuming and things.
Because it had such good practical effects.
And the next Marvel film that came out after Fantastic Four was made was the Generation X 1996 Fox TV movie, and that had a budget of $4 million.
I forgot about that.
So $1 million is nothing.
Do you remember the Gen X
movie?
I don't remember that at all. I remember that being a big deal, though.
That and the Nick Fury movie that came after it with the Hoff.
Don't hassle the Hoff.
Don't.
Before Samuel Lucas, before...
No, I know Nick
Samuel L. Jackson was Nick Fury. Before they invented all this good stuff, we had David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
Big in Germany.
Huge.
He is, yeah, he's huge.
Likes cheeseburgers.
I guess.
Likes to scale walls, too, from what I hear.
I have a little thing here from Lucas. I'm not sure if you want to throw the document cam back on here for a second, but I was digging through some old Wizards. And everybody remembers Wizard Magazine, the guy. Martin, you remember Wizard Magazine?
I miss that. I miss that greatly.
If I had an unlimited budget, this is what we would do: is we would produce our own Wizard Magazine somehow. I would hire somebody to do reporting and like just print up a 32-page, 64-page Wizard, the Guide to Comics. This is again, Lucas. This is before the internet. This was your Bible to all things comics.
Yeah.
That like there wasn't message boards. You didn't like.
But you were getting there.
Maybe you were getting there, but like
AOL.
This is super early on. Every month you get a magazine that just told you what was going on in the comics world. And
That's
so
sweet.
I was digging through some Wizards and I found this Wizard 17 here. I'm going to try to read it.
And its news was mildly accurate.
Mildly accurate. It says feature films. The Fantastic Four may have inched its way closer to the big screen thanks to new technology and a new producer. Although, how do you pronounce this? Bernd Eichingers?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
all right.
Sounds right.
Because I didn't want to say his name earlier because I didn't know how to
Is
say
still
it.
involved because that was the German producer who had the rights to this, so he needed to get this made.
Yeah, yeah.
Why did he have the rights to it? Was Stanley just looking for a quick buck or something?
Something where they sold the rights to the Human Torch for something back in like the 70s, and then he followed up trying to get some of these characters in the 80s, and again another decade goes by. I mean, they were known properties. They weren't like. I don't know, dude.
Fair
anyway, is still involved, but low budgeter Roger Corman's Concord is now executive producing. Corman is also expected to direct the film from screenplay by Craig Nevis. Pre-production is expected. Let's turn the page. To start before the year's end with many practical effects planned and also computer morphed effects after Terminator 2 broke the ice in morphing technology. A cheaper program, although still time-consuming, something Corman is known for.
Yeah.
So Roger Corman. So back here in Wizard, this is what is this? Wizard 17. This is.
Does it say on the spine?
December of '92.
Wow, so
December.
that was as the movie was going directly into pre-production, right?
Hey,
93. No, it was year before. Year before.
but it must have been. I mean, all of this happened very, very fast,
Yep.
is my understanding.
Yeah.
Because how many days did it take to put it together and film?
It was like just over a month maybe of filming. I think it was like a December January project because they had to work around the Christmas vacation and things like that. They said.
So we kind of know who Roger Corman is. He's our B movie director, our low budget director.
Producer, yep.
Who is Avi Arad, and what's his role in all of this?
Avi Arad came with Toy Biz, which was a big toy company in the late 80s, early 90s. When Marvel was going about acquiring everything it could, it bought up this toy company, and him and his partner came along with that deal. They got some control in Marvel.
I always have a hard time believing that toys were such a big industry or whatever that they eventually eclipsed Marvel in terms of.
Yeah, they were able to acquire Marvel.
Wow.
Basically, when there was this huge war between two factions, basically trying to vie for control of Marvel at this time, and Avi Arad with Toy Biz, the X-Men line of toys, which I think most comic fans remember very fondly, and then X-Men the animated series he was involved in, and he got a relationship with Fox, which kind of panned out very well for him. And for establishing some of the movies and getting us on the road to the Marvel Cinematic Universe we know today.
He gets a lot of credits in all those Marvel Cinematic movies.
Yep, he's a producer on almost.
But this, he was loosely tied to this somehow through his. He came from Nabisco, and it was pitching a bunch of like character ideas through that, and somehow got into this toy company that was gobbled up by Marvel, and then eventually the toy company ate up Marvel, but he had his hands in everything, and I am under the impression, and I could be totally wrong, that Avi Arad is not a very well-liked character, but I think he's one of these guys that's been very successful and very shrewd and like knows business inside out, knows movies, and has good creative ideas. Because after this movie was rushed to be made to kind of keep this copyright, Avi kind of came along and shut it down, is my understanding.
Yeah, he spearheaded that. He basically, what it sounds like, he was willing to pay a great sum of money for them to never release this film. And the rights holder decided that, yes, it's worth it for me to make a couple $1 million to never have this movie aired. So that is basically, it looks like what happened. Roger Corman got all his money back and then some. And that's basically where it was left off. All the people who worked below that making the film, they were kind of just like, oh, you guys are gone. We don't need you. This is...
It sounds like a lot of people got screwed.
They
Oh,
did.
definitely.
The composers, I heard, lost a lot of money because I believe they made the music themselves. They paid for
They
the
paid,
music themselves
They
out of
paid for
pocket.
a 44-piece orchestra
Yeah,
out of their own money to come.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, I don't
That
know.
just seems
What
like
a lot of
were-
people.
oh, go ahead.
A lot of people had hope in this movie, making it at least. They really wanted this to be something great.
Yeah,
and,
because when it was, they said they weren't going to release it. A bunch of the guys who'd worked on it actually tried to steal a copy of the film before they were all shipped off and failed to do that. Because they wanted, because if you can say that, oh, I worked on this film, but if there's no physical film, you get no credit for that, and it doesn't help your career at all.
in going back to the Avi Arad of buying this movie rather from this German producer. Yeah, he wanted to destroy all copies of the movie.
Yeah.
But somehow a copy got out there, and you can watch this on YouTube, which
Yep.
is how we watched it.
Yep.
It's not a bad movie. It's not a good movie
Dollar for dollar, it's the best Fantastic Four film ever made.
because the budget was $1 million.
Exactly.
It's amazing that they're actually able to do
Anything.
that for $1 million. That they made
yeah,
a movie.
for sure. Yeah, it's
Well,
impressive.
Martin, what works with this movie?
I think the core story works, which is basically just, taken right from the actual comic material
Right, yeah.
about these four people who are a family unit who have to go through this amazing adventure, get their powers. I think that works a lot. I think that the costume for the Thing is very effective, especially knowing that there was
I don't
only $1
think
million.
it's that bad.
Yeah, I think it
And
works.
the Doom mask, that's basically on point. It's really great.
I think the Doom costume is great. I think Doom is one of those iconic costumes too that like it could easily translate to film from the comic page.
And the Doom actor wants everyone to know that it was not his idea to not redub all his lines, so that is why he sounds muffled in 90% of the film.
Yeah.
So what was the story with that? That he came in to do a
Yeah, he was it was under his understanding that he was coming in to redub all his lines because with that mask on, everything is muffled and different other elements. But they only had him do a few pages of dialogue, and when he said he's willing to do it, and they said no, we don't need it. It's going to be fine. It'll sound good. It'll sound good.
Is this because they just don't have any time or money? You
Yep.
think?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
they didn't want the recording time.
Yeah.
Probably.
Let's talk about. There's a character in this movie who seems to have no correlate. Well, there's no direct correlation to this character. However, it's clearly that this character, the jeweler, is Mole Man.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So
They didn't have the rights, though.
what do you mean they didn't have the rights?
I think the Mole Man was owned by somebody else at the time.
Basically, from what I was understanding, was that when you have the character rights to the Fantastic Four, you're guaranteed the Fantastic Four and anything like Doctor Doom, who's essential to the story. Secondary characters, it becomes grayer, and Marvel was not keen on having this movie made, and so they weren't going to help Roger Corman's team in any way possible to make things happen, like getting the actual Mole Man and doing that. So they just, changed the story a little bit and called him the Jeweler.
Which it's very clear that is Mole Man.
Yeah, that's who I thought it was at first, but
Good job.
yeah, I know my stuff.
How closely does this follow those first few issues of FF? I wanted to reread those first few issues of FF, but I couldn't find my one big collection.
I sifted through number 1, and the movie takes a lot of imagery directly from that, including the crash scene, which is very sparse, and but it kind of correlates with what you saw there. A couple of different iconic images, like their 4 hands together and stuff like that. Mole Man obviously was used in a different way in the comic,
Yeah.
but not too far off.
I'm shocked that actually this was released in 1994, and you have in your notes that Blade was 1998.
Yeah.
These seem like worlds apart.
They
I
do.
know, yeah.
Like worlds apart. And
But in general, I think Lucas could say that the world of film changed very rapidly, especially after like
Oh, yeah,
Jurassic
with
Park,
CGI
Terminator 2, where
and all that,
computers
yeah.
became much more viable and made doing things a lot simpler.
let's go back to Jurassic Park, and actually let's jump over to Carnivore, which is the Jurassic Park knockoff, directed by
Guess Lucas.
Roger Corman.
I was going to say Steven Spielberg, but
Steven Spielberg did the other one.
the bad one.
The bad one, yeah.
So apparently they ran
Commercial one.
They ran a trailer for this movie before Carnivore.
Yep.
And you said they even reused parts of.
Doctor Doom's, we'll go with Throne Room, is basically the main set from that film. I guess
Shout out to all the traffic on 104
Yeah.
right now that you're just hearing in the background, where it's just ambulance after ambulance
great.
after fire truck driving behind us. So,
disasters happen. Also, there's cars going by making noise.
so I didn't realize that. So, directed Carnivore, they snuck this trailer in, thinking that this was going to be released before Avi Arad stepped in and said, "Hey, what's going to cost for me to just buy all this stuff up and make sure it never happens?" It's very interesting.
It seems like something happened towards the end of filming and as they're entering post-production, where that's where things started to stall out.
Well, I think they ran out of money for post production. From what I read.
Some of the editing was done on the dime of another movie for a different company. They snuck in after hours.
You said gorilla pickup shots. Is that what you're referring to?
One of the producers put on the Thing costume, and it's that scene where he's walking through the city, and then he comes up to that group of girls.
Yeah.
That was just stolen footage that they did.
Is this like the Little Dicky music video where he gets the other rappers to do you ever see that one?
No, I'm not.
There's a rapper, Little Dicky.
I know Lil
His
Dicky,
his song is "Save That Money" or something like that. So he convinces other rappers to let him shoot in the background of their music videos, and then
that's
puts
funny.
together his own video, which sounds like he was taking a page out of the old Roger Corman FF book.
Yeah.
Promotion tour at the cast's expense. What does that mean?
Basically, they did a bunch of convention appearances, and the only help they got for that was Roger Corman printed off a bunch of headshots for them, which one of the guys joked he still has a ton of them in his garage somewhere. They would pay for the Thing costume and the Doom costume to be shipped around to the conventions and appearances, but not the cast. The cast had to do that on their own. And they eagerly did it because this is a big superhero film. They're going to get a lot of attention for this, which was a common theme from just about everybody.
That just
throughout.
seems so strange. Like, this is just put together so quickly.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, what do you...
I don't know.
Every time.
I honestly, looking at the numbers and everything here, to me, it seems like completely unrealistic that any of them thought that this movie was going to be anything. But they're talking about how they felt it was going to be a blockbuster, how it had the potential to do great things for their careers.
Now, some of the actors did go on to do a few other things, I believe.
Most of them have been pretty active, guest starring stuff, some movie things.
I think it was either the Thing actor or Doctor Doom. I think had the biggest career.
Yeah, Doom. I
after.
think it's Doctor Doom.
Yeah. I can't remember what he was
write
in.
their names down.
Yeah, I can't remember what he was in, but yeah, he wasn't huge, but he got work.
The Human Torch became like a youth pastor or something for a while.
Oh boy. Can we talk about the time jump too at the beginning? How
The creepy factor,
yeah, it's so weird.
which I think in the comics is a thing where Sue was younger than Reed when they met, but to see like a
To see
12-year-old
Reed
and a
grooming his child
22-year-old,
bride,
it was cringy. It was very,
It was bad.
very. I'm glad you noticed that.
Yeah,
It's just
he messaged me and goes, "Why is Sue Storm a kid?" And I'm like, just wait. It
I was
gets
like,
weirder."
maybe they retconned it and like the Invisible Woman is someone else now. I had no idea.
She went on to play a recurring character in the Angel and Buffy TV shows.
Oh really?
Yes, can't think of what the character was, but she did because I recognized her right away and I had to look it up.
Interesting.
Gen X movie 96,
Mhm.
Nick Fury TV movie 98, Blade 98. Was there like a weird Punisher movie that was like done in the early mid 90s too, or was that one of these wizard things that never came together?
There was a direct-to-video Punisher. I have the note somewhere.
Oh, did you really? I was just trying to think of.
Yeah. We know how to spell Punisher would help. 1989 direct-to-video, $9 million budget. They couldn't even afford to put a skull on his shirt. It was Dolph Lundgren.
That's right.
Oh,
Okay.
Yep.
wow.
I don't think I've ever
Lou
seen
Gossett
that.
Jr. I think was.
Yeah. What?
Oh.
Do you know why they didn't put a skull on his shirt?
No idea.
That's so weird.
I know why they wouldn't today, but
Yeah. A little bit more problematic today.
yeah.
So Marvel had no real interest and no real control over this whole production, it sounds like.
Nope, and none of the ones I think, not Punisher, not a bunch of stuff like that came out earlier, where they had the Captain America horrible movies from the early '80s and 1990, I think was the other one, where it's just some company bit more or less cashing in on the name, and Marvel probably taking the hit.
Didn't Stan Lee he was trying to make Marvel movies for years in Hollywood?
Yeah, he was,
And he kept getting shut down.
Yep, shilling things out. In
So did
Hollywood
he
for-
just sell the rights to all these
I honestly don't
awful
know off the top of my head,
studios?
but basically, I think.
I mean, that makes sense, right? He would just, he probably just wants to see them in live action on the
Mm-hmm.
silver screen in some way.
Because I think probably when Superman came out, that was kind of we've got these
Right,
heroes,
that
let's
was
try and
what,
get them sold.
78,
78
right?
was Superman,
Yep.
right? You had that, and then you had Batman 10 years later,
Mhm.
Batman
Yep.
89. It is funny to think about how iconic those DC movies were, and where
Mhm.
DC is now,
Yep.
Yeah, it's
and how
it's like the opposite.
how trash those Marvel movies were,
And now
and
look
where
at
the
it.
MCU is.
I know, yeah.
the king
It's
king
crazy.
of the hill there.
Yeah, huh. So Toy Biz was the Avi Arad thing.
Yes.
It says versus Revlon. I know there were two different factions that were vying for control of Marvel Productions
Yeah,
and things like that. What's the Revlon?
Ron Perlman, who was the guy on that side of it, he I guess you call him a corporate raider. He would go in and he would take a company and he would profit as much as possible off of it, even to the detriment of the company itself, and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Revlon and Blockbuster are two of the ones that he did, just prior, I believe, to Marvel.
When did Marvel go public?
I believe Marvel went public. don't have the year on that. I just read it.
I mean, is this around the same time Marvel goes public?
It's in the mid to late 90s. Yeah, it's like 96 if I had to guess.
Because I thought
95.
that everything kind of came tumbling down for them in like 95. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that they were a decent
maybe it was
publicly
90.
traded company for a little while. I
Yeah.
could be totally wrong with this, but I feel
It
like
had to be prior to 96 because I remember
when is
some school stuff.
when is Heroes World?
Heroes World was 95, 96, yeah, somewhere in there.
So Heroes World was
94.
the comic distributor that didn't predate Diamond, but was the
No, at
alternative to
the
Diamond.
time, the distribution was a whole bunch of small distributors all around the country. So if there were quite a few, I don't know the exact number, but Marvel wanted to do self-distribution where it had all control over where the books were going and getting cutting out the middleman to get more money. And so they bought up the second largest maybe Heroes World, and made that their exclusive distributor, which had a horrific ripple effect, which caused almost all of these smaller distributors to have to shut down, with Diamond scooping up their infrastructure and becoming a sole monopoly once Heroes World crumbled as well.
Wow.
Were you at the comic shop when Heroes World
No.
existed?
Nope, that was a little bit before my time. I think that was. Oh, I think that was before. It was before I was here, but I think I might have been a customer at the time, very briefly. I can't remember how far that got into towards Age of Apocalypse and the Heroes Reborn stuff. That's more or less when I started.
Heroes Reborn was 96. Age of Apocalypse was 95.
Yeah, so probably yeah. I'm guessing 94. I feel
Martin, we're going to take a detour here.
okay.
Tell us about your history with the comic shop. I kind of know it, but I really don't know if we need a formal telling of how Martin linked up with the comic shop story.
We need a timeline.
We need a timeline. I'm horrible at timelines. Trying to think.
If
It
it's
was-
a bad timeline, we can just retcon.
No.
it on this.
I don't know why I started shopping here. I used to get during like Fatal Attractions time period and beyond. I would get stuff at like grocery stores and
That was my beginning too.
Drugstores, things
is
like
that like a Tops or a Wegmans I would go to, and they had a decent comics. I mean, decent being maybe they had 20 or 30 books.
That's crazy to me that like you'd go to like a pharmacy to get your comics back in the day.
it's crazy.
It is.
But it was true. Did a little bit of shopping up at Uncanny Comics, which was up at Great Northern. Great Northern's a mall that used to exist.
Uncanny Comics.
Uncanny Comics. They actually helped Arlene get started, Arlene and Larry back in the day.
I don't know that.
So I don't know how I actually stumbled into this place. I just know someone's like, oh, there's a comic shop in town. No, I didn't.
Sure.
So came in. My dad was actually just starting to get back into comics too. Spider-Man.
Now
stuff like that.
I'm under the impression your dad was very big into comics.
Yes, he Marvel guy. But yeah, Spider-Man was his big thing.
Fantastic Four was not his big thing.
Not really. A little bit. I think I probably dragged him a bit into that just because that's what I was really collecting.
I thought
and
it was
we'd
the other
pass
way
stuff
around.
back and forth. But no, it was all me. And just struck up a rapport with Arlene and Larry Miller of GJP fame. You should get some pizza from GJP before
Shout
you go
out
over to
to
Lowe's.
GJP.
GJP. And Lowe's. Don't forget Lowe's.
And Lowe's, you got to remember.
Yep. Always.
Struggling small business. Just struck up a rapport with the owner, and they were trying to find someone because they had lost most of their staff through leaving college.
Did
other
Arlene
things like
have
that.
more than one person
Yeah,
staff?
yeah, she did.
Wait, okay, now this intrigues me. Go.
Yes, she did.
Explain this.
They had a whole gang of guys at the time. I think it was. One's actually was involved in acting a lot. So every time he would pop up on screen, she'd point him out. But it was basically just gone down to her and Larry Miller were working, and they needed a Sunday guy type deal. And she approached me, and I was like, "Sure, I can do that."
How long did Larry Miller work here?
I'm not sure. He was a little kid. He's at the time. He left for a little while, came back briefly.
He's like the same age as you?
I think so. Yeah, we got to be around the same age.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the first customer and someone who helped me get the job by being that customer was Randy.
Randy
Oh,
who?
wow.
Randy.
Wow. Shout out to Randy Dunn.
Randy.
Shout out to
No,
Randy.
just,
You
it's
know what I
just
learned about
Exclamation
Randy
point.
recently is
What?
that his last name is fake.
It's made up. I almost said his first original last name, and so I stopped saying anything.
Explain to Lucas Randy's last name.
His current last name?
Either last name.
Please, I'm intrigued.
Well, he was Randy Belcher, and then he got married, and they decided to create a new last name, which is Delvin.
Which is what?
Delvin.
Delvin?
Where did that come
DLVIN.
from? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a mashup, I do believe.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get Randy to let us know for next week.
He's usually in the chat.
Shout out to Randy.
Shout out to
But
Randy.
yeah,
Great
yeah.
guy.
So yeah, after my first shift, Larry went into the bathroom with the phone and called Arlene, and she asked him some questions, and I could hear the whole conversation, so it wasn't really clandestine. And he's like, "Yeah, Randy seemed to get along well with him." So it was. So thanks, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
This is all your
Thank you,
fault.
Randy.
So how did you transition from being the Sunday guy to the...
Larry Miller quit.
Okay.
And it was, I believe, during summer when Little League was in full swing and Arlene's kids were big into Little League, so her and Larry would travel all the time. So I basically went from 5 hours a week to many, many hours a week while she was gone. And then...
Fingers crossed that happens to me sometime.
It won't. Nope.
No, never. It's a
got a-
different beast now.
I've got a laundry list of people to go to before I get to you, man.
Phil.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
I don't know how to do the wall. Shout out to Phil.
Who does? No one does.
Oh, where are we? We're very off
I have no.
track.
We've hit a little bunny trailer.
Yeah, we. I just and you've been with the store for how long?
I believe fall of '97 till today. However many years that is.
I'm going to do the math real quick.
Okay, good.
So it's
I can't.
2000 to 22. So we're going to take 2. We're going to subtract that from 7. We're going to carry the. You've been here 400 years.
400 years.
Congratulations, Mom.
And it shows.
It's my Howard Stern math right there. Thank you. Fantastic Four. Let's. Are you counting on? You only have 10 fingers.
I don't think that's right. What I was just
25 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk a little
That's
bit.
like 2 Lucases.
It's
Pretty
like
much.
3 Lucases. I think what are you, 16?
Yeah, just about.
Let's talk about a little bit about Mr. Fantastic, if we could, and
Okay.
specifically, yes. Oh, can you just recap the final
Oh my
scene
God,
in
it
the
was
John
so
or the Corman FF?
Spoilers. The movie ends with the marriage of Reed Richards and Susan Storm, and they exit the cathedral. It's really, really lovely. The Thing says something, and it's not dubbed over in the fixed voice in the rest of the movie. Just something to point out. They get in their
Wait,
little.
what do you mean?
They did voice modulation for the Thing for the entire film,
Except for that.
except for that one scene, and it bugs the Thing guy. So Reed and Sue get in their limousine, just married behind the tin cans, and suddenly the sunroof opens up, and Reed's arm comes out and just waves like a pool noodle in a uniform.
It's a pool noodle with a hamburger helper mitt on it or something like that. It's the most lo-fi.
It cost
terrible.
all of $1.75.
It was real funny, though.
In summation of the movie, I guess before we
Oh,
talk
yeah.
a little bit about it, it's not a bad movie.
No,
Lucas, you,
dollar for dollar, Lucas.
I think the score is pretty good. The soundtrack.
Actually, I did not like the score.
I liked
thought
it in
was,
parts.
I thought it was pretty solid.
There's one particular scene that I thought had decent music.
There was one scene where I thought it was not that good music, and it was actually the scene with the Thing, and he goes up to those women, and they're
Okay.
like, "Oh my god!" And then there's just some weird just drums. I'm like, it's weird.
Probably because the actual music guys didn't do that. It was just somebody in the back alley quickly throwing something
Maybe
on there.
it was weird though. But other than that, I thought the score was honestly pretty solid for this film. I was like, damn, pretty cool. I definitely think they took a lot of inspiration from the Superman '78 movie, especially with the beginning, the title card and stuff. Like,
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
yeah. But the costumes were really bad too.
Well, what do you mean? Sue Storm sewed them herself.
Right.
What are they supposed to look
What am I
like?
thinking? Yeah.
I mean,
That,
which is what the answer was when the actors questioned how bad the uniforms were.
I like too at the ending how everyone's in the costumes besides Sue Storm.
Yep.
I thought that was funny. It's just so weird.
But I think it's a good rough draft for what a film should be. I think that the future that the films that came later could probably have taken some notes. on story structure, on...
Do you want to talk about now? We did not watch any of the other FF movies, but I believe
I put the first one on briefly the other day while we were working, and was actually kind of horrified at the origin story of the team, with corporate Doctor Doom, and just it's cheesy, it's the cliche.
Jessica Alba's in it though. She's hot.
Yeah, it's
she's a
the
very
film
nice
series
lady.
that made her want to retire from acting
She's a
because
very,
of the
very
director.
nice lady.
is it?
Oh yeah.
What's the story there?
I'm not sure. I'm not. I've not looked that up at all
Okay.
in recent years, but
From my understanding, just the director was just like a total dick to her.
Yeah,
Like there was one scene. It was in the second film.
like How I Am to You.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. But anyway,
Shelley Duvall in Shining type.
yeah.
Yeah.
There was one scene in, where she was crying in the second film, and the director was like, "Cry cuter, like try to look sexier when you cry."
Cry sexy. Yep, that's what I think.
I'm like, what the frick? So yeah, it was just not a good relationship between
yeah.
the director and Jessica
Is that
Alba.
Chris Columbus?
It was the guy that did
Tim
like
Story?
Haircut or what's that movie with Ice Cube in it? Haircut? I think it's Haircut. Yeah.
Well, Evan's the expert on haircuts.
Or no, it's not Haircut. It's like
hairspray. It's hairspray.
Hairspray. Yeah.
Or is it hair? It's some hair.
No, I think
related
it's Barber actually. Yeah, it's that guy that got it for some reason.
Barbershop.
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 Yeah. I've never
Any,
seen
any
it.
comments?
Don't
We got a
think I
couple
will.
comments going on that we kind of been ignoring.
I bad. Why you mad?
Who is that?
No idea. Number one, no, I guess. Yo, he says. John says, my understanding was that Marvel went bankrupt and just started selling out movie license. Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened.
There was a bit later.
There
Yeah.
was
Yep.
That's why Spider-Man's at
So
Sony.
Spider-Man's a
and,
Sony. Well, you have the Fox breakup
Yep,
with the
yep.
Fantastic Four and the Spider-Man.
I bad. Why you mad? Once again says love can tame the thing as though he were a savage beast.
Word.
Okay.
that was very deep.
And then Aaron said barbershop. Yeah, so I was right.
I read Aaron's
Fourth
answer
time.
actually.
Very good, considering it's upside down and not facing you at all. That's very impressive.
That's sweet.
Let's talk Mr. Fantastic. Let's talk some of Jonathan Hickman's
Right.
FF. We both reread a little bit of that.
Yep.
I read it for the first time.
Actually, I read it for the first time too.
It's a really good jumping on point for
You
Fantastic
just buy
Four.
trades and you just don't read them.
No, I don't read anything.
No, I
If
buy
you're-
comics and don't read anything.
If you're a real comic book fan, this
you
is
don't read.
true. You don't read comics. You just buy
You
them,
just buy 'em.
and they sit in a pile. And
Shout out to
everyone-
Alex Dexter.
Shout out to Alex
He's-
Dexter.
yeah, I think he's in here.
He might
somewhere.
be in the chat.
Not sure.
You put them in a pile,
Mm-hmm.
and then every couple months you sort them and organize them,
Yep.
and then you never look at them again.
Nope.
And that's how you read. That's how you read and collect comics, Lucas. You don't read.
I don't know. I have a few comics, some trades that I haven't read yet.
It's funny because we're talking about. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was it.
Okay, good. We were talking about this Jonathan Hickman
Hmm.
FF trade, and I go, "Oh, I don't know if I have that." And Martin goes, "Yes, you do. I sold it to you." And sure,
2019.
I think that this was before I was affiliated with the comic
Yeah.
shop. I was just hanging out here because I didn't want to be at my real job. And
Who can blame you?
Yeah. Oh, shout out to Stewart's. But I recommend what's a good thing. And I'd read Hickman's indie stuff like Nightly News,
Yep.
East of West. Was that a?
Yeah, that's Hickman.
What other Hickman books did he do for Image? Yeah, I don't remember either. But this is like maybe the mid 2000s. I'm living
Yeah.
in New Jersey, and I enjoyed Hickman's indie stuff. So when Martin said, "Oh, get the FF Hickman run," I go, "Okay, I do like FF because I'm a huge Jack and Stan fan. I'm a huge Walter Simonson fan. Walter Simonson has at least 2 different trades of FF stuff that I think is fantastic. Walter, do you know Walter Simonson? Oh, he's the best. Thor, Frog,
Frog.
Beta Ray Bill.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Great.
But he also did a good run on FF. But I was like, okay, like Hickman and a group of characters who I really do enjoy. And I finally, 3 years later, got around to reading it because Martin remembered that was in my collection. And the character study, I think, in those first 4 issues on Mr. Fantastic, I
Yeah.
think is great.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, my confession here. I started reading Fantastic Four when Reed Richards was dead, and started reading back issues and things. Never liked the character. I Just
when was he dead? Early
like
300s?
late 300s,
Late
up through like
300s.
the probably 402 or something. He came back.
He was gone for a while, a couple years.
A really long while. Yeah, it was surprising actually that they kept him gone that long, along with Doom. So I could never get into the character, and then Hickman's run came along, and that first story, which focused on Reed, was brilliant. It was a great take on the character. It really what's the title of it? It's
I don't know.
I lost it.
The gateway, the bridge.
It was something about all problems being solved. Where he
yeah.
takes on himself. So he's taking on himself that he has to fix the problems. If he doesn't want a problem to arise that creates problems like it did for his friends and family when he took him up in a rocket ship.
Because it's coming out of Secret Invasion, coming out of Civil War.
Yeah.
So I think you have like all this MCU drama, and I love it because he positions himself like you realize that like he's the smartest man ever in the universe, and he has taken it upon himself to like I need to solve all of these all the universe's problems because I'm the only one that can do it. And it's kind of a lonely existence. It's kind of a sad existence.
Yeah,
and like FF's all about being a family book. I think we talk about where it's the first family of the Marvel universe. But you really get the sense that like he's so preoccupied with these bigger grandiose thoughts that it's not about just his it's about everybody and everything and taking care of you like it's all comes on to him,
and he's isolating himself more and more.
And Sue's understanding of that because it's like, well, obviously you're this brilliant man who's trying to figure out all these problems, but it's like it's kind of
she wasn't in the mood for seafood that week, so
it just
Namor.
Ayo. Good old fish, man. But it's just interesting, like, again, the lonely existence. And then, spoilers, like, he's trying to analyze other timelines to determine how he could have better handled these crises. Is there another way? Should I have done something? And eventually he stumbles upon a whole multiverse of other Reed Richards who
formed a council, basically.
Of like, we're solving all of the multiverse's problems. And we want you to join our team. And for a while, he debates, do I leave my family and just pursue this full time? And eventually, all the other Reed Richards say, this is, if you want, like all of us have left our families. Like we do, it's not about family. It's about solving all the universe's problems. And Reed can't bring himself to do that.
Yep.
And it's just because it's a good, like, just a great little character study on again, I like the Thing. Actually, I guess what's your least favorite Fantastic Four character?
It's still Reed Richards.
Oh, really?
Invisible Woman tends to be my favorite, especially during those runs where she became assertive, like during Reed's absence, and then later on Chris Claremont's sketchy run. But he really had her step up.
Now, I guess I don't remember those. Like, what it... to me, she's always very one-dimensional, which maybe I'm just thinking back
maternal,
to... maybe I'm thinking back to those...
She was for the longest time.
The Stan and Jack books.
Until probably John Byrne.
Yeah.
Probably is when she ditched the Invisible Girl moniker and went to woman, and but no, the character is very maternal.
Was that late?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was really late. I'm pretty sure I'm accurate on that. Yeah, but so for like so many issues, she's this very maternal character, and that's her role in the team. She was basically responsible for raising her brother, stuff like that, which carried through, and so that. Her powers were the least developed for the longest time as well, so it's just like, oh, I turn invisible. Look at that.
Let's go back to the Roger Corman movie for a second. Where all of a sudden she just figures out her powers in like the last final battle scene.
Suddenly there's a force field going up, and
her powers in the last fight don't make sense because like two guys will be coming at her, and she'll go invisible, and then they just hit each other. And
she ducks. She goes invisible and ducks.
We kept saying that like that was her strategy in all these battles. You have to get
which is how they filmed it. Yep.
Between two villains that are running towards each other, shooting towards each other, and then turn invisible and disappear.
Which is how they filmed it. She would duck out of sight. And they'd film it, then she'd pop back up for whatever she had to do for the rest of it.
My gosh!
She goes, it was so ridiculous.
But going back to Invisible Woman, yeah, maybe that's why. Maybe I'm thinking of those Stan and Jacks that I really loved those runs, but I always felt like Invisible Woman was just kind of there,
or not,
or not. Speaking of which, we do have a Aaron Z. Lee, who's joining us on
Oh,
the
that's
chat
right.
tonight.
Oh,
Shout
yeah.
out to Aaron Z. Lee. Did do a go back to the regular thing for a second.
Oh yeah.
Did do a drawing for us tonight. Aaron Z. Lee, who is returning to host the Comic Chapters of podcast next week.
I'm being canceled as we speak.
We're Martin. The show's not working out.
All
I
right.
apologize,
All
but Aaron did do us a sketch of Invisible Woman. So we're just going to take a quick look at that. I mean,
Dead on.
captures the likeness of Invisible Woman.
Yeah,
Blows Kirby
absolutely.
out of the water, buddy.
Yep. I mean, it's fantastic.
That's great. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Don't
And
need no
that's-
more.
And that's no joke. But shout out to Aaron Lee, who's at home with Lucy, their baby, at home with Tootsie, their dog baby,
Oh yeah, and Teresa too.
and the
The
Invisible Woman
And
of their
of the Lee
Fantastic
family,
Four.
yes.
Yes. But Mr. Lee will be back with us next week,
Very
where
excited.
we may discuss Saga.
I hope so.
At
What's
least
Saga?
one of us will discuss Saga.
I don't know if I will, but
Yeah.
You'll probably just be in bed.
yeah, I'll be in bed staring at my ceiling.
Lucas, what
Yes.
Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite character or least favorite character?
I think Reed Richards is my favorite character. And basically, because I haven't read a whole lot. I read the first issue, the original issue, and I was like, oh my God, this is like a novel. So I'm probably
Half,
not going
yeah,
to
no, it's
not going to continue with this.
Stan Lee could be very verbose in those early
Yes.
books.
And then I read the Hickman, the first 4 issues, and I really dug it. And Reed Richards he's the focus, right?
Yeah.
And I thought I thought it was great. I was like, damn, this
we were
character is
opposites.
awesome.
My first reading, there was no Reed. His, it was all Reed.
Yeah, right. So, and then Aaron actually said something about Dan Slott's and Mike.
Mike Allred.
Allred, yeah.
Of which, what was the...
FF.
FF, yeah.
yeah.
He said it's the bee's knees, in which I do have the first trade. I have it damaged in my pull box for $5, so I'm gonna get that eventually and read that.
I think
Do you
all
realize Lucas has
iterations-
been damaging trades, marking them down to $5, and putting them in his
Yeah, I'm the
box?
one that taught him how to do it.
Oh, okay, all right. I wasn't sure. I could tell you just stealing tricks
yeah.
out of your book, but
Yeah, you basically bring it up for $5. You put in $10,
blame
and you
me?
take
I
out 2 5s.
I'm a college
It
kid.
works
I
great.
I'm gonna save money somehow.
the old quick change artist.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
I get 2 10s and a 5 for this 20? Yep.
But so I'm looking forward to reading Dan Slott's one, which I hear is more family centric.
The FF stuff?
Or no, maybe I'm thinking of. Is it the FF stuff that I'm thinking of?
I'm not sure.
Have you read Slott's?
Yeah,
one?
yeah. I thought I didn't remember him on FF, but that doesn't mean anything. I can't.
Well, he's
remember
still
anything about
the
that,
writer in FF, I think.
but-
right?
Fantastic Four. FF is a separate series.
Oh, right.
I just say
Future
FF.
Foundation,
I just say FF forever.
So is he
Yeah,
talking about?
SAF4.
He's talking about
is it-
FF then.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. That's what I've always
hold
done.
on. Time out. Do I just say this incorrectly? Should I be saying F4?
No, FF is acceptable too. Yeah.
I say FF. all
Okay,
the
so
but then they made a book FF.
so
and that kinda makes it-
Fantastic Four and FF are different series.
are different series. Yep. For the Hickman run, the FF series, the stories blended together. You don't have to read both to get the full
Sure.
to get the story, but if you put it together, it's great. It's amazing how well he plotted those all together, so that there is that cohesive story if you want to, where it's just so much more immersive in the universe he was creating. So
Cool. Yeah, so Dan Slott, he's the writer right now
current one, yes,
on Fantastic Four,
yes.
Have you been reading
which I hear good things. So
any of the current Fantastic Four? Like, I mean,
Dead honest, no.
okay.
My boss works me too hard and tells
Where else
me-
do you work?
You'd be surprised. I work never mind. Lowe's. I work at Lowe's. You should
Lowe's.
shop there.
Best place to
Work
shop
in the,
and work.
Work in the corner at
great.
Lowe's.
Love Lowe's.
Um,
No, it was Wade, his run.
Wade, yes. Him with Mike
Is it
Weir and
Alex or
Go.
Mark Wade.
It's Mark Wade.
Yeah, his run on Fantastic Four here is really good.
I think Mark
is
Wade's
more
Fantastic Four
family-centric.
run is very good, but then we also talk about, because he's like, well, didn't he write bad stuff? And we go, oh, there's Cap Wolf. And like,
Oh yeah.
Mark Wade to me is an interesting guy that I tend to like him, but it has to be the right project, maybe.
Yeah.
'Cause
He did. He was the one that did Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come, yep. Yep, with Alex
Which I
Ross.
actually didn't really like that story.
No?
Well, I'm not a DC guy besides Batman, so
Yeah, when I read it back in the day, I didn't really enjoy it because
Yeah.
I know DC, and then later on when I reread it again years later, I was like, oh, okay, this is
yeah,
a
that's
lot
one I'm
cooler.
gonna have to revisit eventually and check out. But
We got some more comments there.
yes, we do. All right, we got I Bad, Why You Mad? Kick Lucas off the Saga episode. I'll take his place. I mean, maybe, but we don't know who you are. So
I'm tempted. Whoever you are, mystery commenter, I'm tempted.
just email Evan. He'll
Just private message one of us, and we will make sure to replace Lucas with you.
Did I tell you I'm giving you the week off next week?
Are you? No. I was gonna say, I'm like, no. Well, I gotta work, man.
We're gonna give you the week off. So
It's gonna be my first day working Monday. Oh, are we changing the podcast to Mondays next week? I mean, we got it because school's starting up, so I won't be able to do it Tuesdays.
What do you? Or we'll talk about this later.
This is a great time to bring that up, Lucas.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to address the
Keep going on the
viewers.
comments.
Like, yeah, welcome to Lowe's. Someone said, Aaron says, okay.
Yeah, Lowe's.
That Mark
Grunwald.
I think. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, John says,
Did Mark Grunwald do the Future Foundation? Is that what we're saying?
Mark Grunwald, no.
Not
Okay.
sure. John loves Mark Wade. Okay, cool. I like him too. He's cool. I also love Mark Grunwald, Aaron says.
I do
And
too.
then John says his Empire story is so fun. And then Aaron just commented, Capwolf. Yes, Capwolf.
Yeah, that's what was the Empire thing?
I'm not sure. Empire story? Is that... That's a Marvel.
Empire with a Y.
Yeah,
Well,
I
he
think
spelled
so.
it with an I, but I
Okay,
feel
yeah,
like
it's-
Wade
yeah.
did the Empire with a Y
I think-
2 years ago.
I read that. I don't remember.
Yeah,
It was during
It-
Slot's run, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cap
sure.
Wolf. Let's end the
One
story
of
on a
the-
completely unrelated note.
one of the
Mark,
greatest.
what was Cap Wolf? What?
A big mistake.
Which also kind of then launched.
Heroes Reborn.
Heroes Reborn.
Yeah. I don't know if that was that an act. I can't remember if that was an act of desperation where they did this story where they were just trying to get attention and things. Basically, Fantastic Four, Captain America, Avengers, Iron Man could do nothing right to get the attention of the readers. They made a whole bunch of horrible choices like this.
Oh,
Just, I have nothing against the creators you're about to see. I do enjoy this period, but
now this is a book that Lucas you would appreciate because it's
But Marvel editorial decided that this is the take that the Fantastic Four had to be more grim, gritty, sexy,
Sounds awesome.
very
It's a
image-like.
fantastic movie right there.
And-
Warner Brothers.
It was just horrible. It was prime
Sue
example.
Storm
of
is
bad-
looking.
this
Yeah.
is the Sue
She
Storm.
seems like a very nice
She's
lady.
a very nice lady. This is the Sue Storm boob.
Okay,
window
she's the
era.
mom of the Marvel Universe. Do you want your mom dressing like that?
No.
Shout out to Lucas.
There we go. It's not appropriate. But no, it's just a total mishandling of the aesthetic of the book.
I just have to laugh at like all these advertisements when we flip through these things, like the Muncham one on the back.
Yeah.
Oh, classic advertisement.
yeah.
The Rocky D, dinosaur extraordinaire, Brock's Rocks.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, Lucas, you don't know how much fun the '90s were.
Yeah,
What
I
is
guess
what
not.
is that Sue Storm costume? That's ridiculous.
It's amazing.
No, but there's 100 other.
I think is she carrying her big gun in any of those either?
I
Because
don't
she had
know.
guns. Reed got pouches.
thing with the helmet?
Yep,
Because he got
his fla-
was it Wolverine?
Wolverine
clawed him?
slashed his face because X-Men
and,
are bullies.
and made him ugly. So now he has to wear a big metal
did.
helmet.
Because he had a little pink little scar on his face. I forgot we were talking about that led into this.
Me too.
It doesn't really matter.
Oh, Capwolf.
Yes, basically, yeah. These four titles, the basically the core of the Marvel universe, they could not sell a comic to save their lives. So they did more radical things to try and make that happen, including Werewolf Captain America, Captain America losing all his powers, putting on this big ridiculous like exosuit. Which basically led into Marvel saying, we can't do anything with these characters. Let's ship them off to our Image friends and see if they could do some stuff with them.
I just love this scene here. This is the Thing with a trench coat and a fedora and his big metal mask on underneath. Like how ridiculous.
It's almost as if they drew the new stuff over the old stuff.
Do you remember this game for Sega Genesis? I don't think I owned it, but I
Yes.
think I rented it at a Blockbuster one time.
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster.
What
It's
is
the
that?
It's like a Netflix, but a physical building.
Sounds horrible.
It was great.
No,
Oh, you missed the 90s.
I remember Blockbuster. Used to go to Blockbuster,
Me
actually.
too. I'd see my good friend Tim Stahl there working.
Shout out to Tim Stahl.
I would love to work
Senator.
at Blockbuster. That'd be sweet.
But
Oh, I was just going to say you can go back to the regular screen.
in general, I would recommend you viewing on YouTube the X-Men film. It's a nice experience. Bear in mind, it's a $1 million picture.
You mean the Fantastic Four
That's
film?
what did I say?
He said X-Men.
X-Men?
Oh, not the X-Men.
Which is
YouTube
actually
one.
a
It's-
really good movie. Well,
Nah.
I think it's pretty good.
Mileage will vary. The Fantastic Four film, Roger Corman, 94. It is a little bit of fun. It's a lot of cheese, but not a waste of an hour and a half. It's not a waste of an hour and a half.
All right. Why don't we read some more comments? We'll play a little bumper, and then maybe we'll call it a night.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get the bumpers going. Which one?
Actually, Martin, you want to know what the number one? What's the number one selling? Looking at Wizard here, what's the number one selling comic of November of 1992? And I think you're going to get this.
Is it an X-Men comic?
No,
Is it Batman?
Is it Spawn?
no. November of '92.
I'm feeling stupid now.
It's a DC book.
Is it Batman?
Oh, is it Death of Superman?
Yep.
Dang it.
That was that late in the year?
That does seem late, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that was more of a summer thing. This
Yeah.
says November '92. Superman.
It's also
75.
Wizard. They could be wrong.
The number 2 book, Pit number 1. The number 3 book, X-Men 16/4, Bloodshot number 1, Uncanny X-Men 296, X-Force 18, Doom 2099 number 1, X-Force 86, Spawn 7 at 9, and then the classic Rick Leonardi, Peter David, Spider-Man 2099 number 3.
All these books you can
his
find
origin
anywhere
saga.
for less than double cover price and most likely a quarter.
You got some
Sweet.
comments?
Yeah. John says I'm sold on the Hickman's FF run now. Thanks, guys. Would be Fantastic Four technically, right? Yeah, I want to read more of that.
I do too, actually, just flipping through it today.
Yes, I know. Actually, Rick and Morty, they stole something from Fantastic Four, Hickman's run. The Council of Ricks
Oh, yeah.
is directly stolen from Fantastic Four.
Actually stolen, or you just think it is?
No, it really is.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, it's not. The creators of Rick and Morty went on and said,
Okay.
it was definitely an inspiration. So
So you're not just making an accusation against them?
no,
Okay.
yeah, no, they went on
So
record
I
saying
just
that.
thought maybe you hated Rick and Morty.
No, I like Rick and Morty.
You heard it here, Luke hates Rick and Morty.
It's a horrible show. And then we have Joe saying X-Men was the best we had. Yeah, I think he was referring to the movie. Yeah, it's a good movie. There's better X-Men movies though than the original.
Again,
Aaron says
$75 million budget on that one.
Who's Luke? I don't know, man.
Who's Luke? What?
Aaron just asked who's Luke.
Uncle Luke. Doo-Doo Brown? Come on. Nobody knows rap? All right.
Dude, I listen to Billy Joel. No,
I listen to 90s garbage every day from
We
your...
can listen to different things if we want.
Let's
All right,
listen
let's
to some
play a little something. We'll call it a day.
Okay.
All right.
Play whatever you want.
Cereal.
I wish we had something good to eat for breakfast. Hey kids, it's the comic shop, and it's a fun part of a balanced breakfast. Chocolate and peanut butter covered cinnamon and sugar waffle shaped cereal with color sprinkles and marshmallow superhero bites. Now with caffeine, taurine, creatine, and mescaline. Don't forget.
Or we can just end it. We can just cut
Bumper's
it off.
over
All right,
now.
the bumper's over.
Bumper's over.
Well, thank you for joining us here on a very special episode of The Comic Shop Does a Podcast. Do we have anything to want to plug? Martin, you want to plug anything?
It looks like Lowe's.
Lowe's is good.
Thank you. I was really struggling.
Lucas, do you have
over
anything?
that. Lowe's.
All right. And I'd also
better
like to
say
plug.
Lowe's.
I'd like to
Say
plug
Lowe's.
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 All your home repair needs.
Yeah.
Lowe's.
That's it.
All right.
That is it. My Lowe's story is I used to box and wrestle and do all this stuff, and Ricardo Almeida was a UFC fighter at the time who lived in my town of Hamilton. And I saw I was at Lowe's wandering around, and he was there looking at ratchet sets because he was tightening mats or something at the gym, and we had a nice socket set discussion one time with me and a professional UFC fighter, and we had mutual acquaintances, and I was like, oh, I know this guy and that guy. But that was the only time I ever really talked to him, was at a Lowe's.
Were you jacked back then?
No.
Were you ripped?
Much more so than now. Now I'm just fat and old. But
More than now?
Yes.
That's hard to
Evan, that
believe.
seems
Thank you
hard
for
to
joining us
believe.
here on the Comic Shop Does a Podcast. My name is Evan Coy.
I'm Lucas Brewer.
I'm me.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.